Hi, everybody. This is Ashton P. Woods with Candace Weber and Brandon Mack of Black Lives Matter Houston. Welcome to our special edition of Black Ass Conversation. This is in response to Greg Abbott's public legislative proposals that he recently put out in September, I believe on September 24th, where he lists 6 reasons that we're about to go into. Clearly, he pulled this out of his ass. And the reality is that most of what he's talking about, we don't engage in. I have not seen organizations or individual activists engage in these actions throughout the state of Texas, let alone around the country. But I'm going to toss it to Candace and see where she wants to go with this, because there's a lot to unpack in a little bit of time.
Right. So my brother, I would argue that he didn't pull this out of his ass. He actually pulled this out of his hood. And you know what I mean by that. These ideas, right, that Greg Abbott is proposing is further criminalizing our ability to shake this state. These are our amendments that they are attacking, and not just attacking, but trying to attach felony charges to the rights that we are supposed to enjoy as American citizens on American soil. Now, there are a lot of reasons that these things are happening. One, systemic racism. We're gonna call it like it is. Greg Abbott is a racist. And if that is hard for you to swallow, you need to question yourself, not us. But also the other things that circle around this racist act, this latest racist act by Greg Abbott. If we are applying felony charges to our children that get out in the street and they protest injustice against Black lives, we are also stealing their ability to vote. That is not missed on us. So as we go down this list, stay with us. We're going to move fast. I'm going to pitch this over to my brother, Brandon. Thank you.
So the first thing on the list is causing injury or destroying property in a riot. It would be a felony offense and a mandatory jail time. So honestly, that's once again trying to target something that doesn't happen when any of us who are really truly about this work are doing the work. It's just another way of instilling systemic racism in our First Amendment rights, and we know specifically who he's targeting. He's targeting Black Lives Matter. He's targeting any of us who are truly fighting to make sure that we have racial equity, not only in this state, but in the entire world. And this is against our rights of freedom of assembly, pure and simple.
So the deal is with number one, I feel like there's going to be a lot of white people in jail if this gets pushed through, because we have it on high authority. Okay, let me put it to you like this. Y'all think y'all watch us? We have watchers that watch the watchers too. We were not born yesterday. We were not born at today 30. And people need to understand, you need to understand, especially if you're white, many of the people have been coming from outside of our city to incite riots and all these other things. But furthermore, when we're talking about number two in conjunction with number one, they run hand in hand, because many times people are not swinging at police officers and touching police officers. What we witnessed after the George Floyd protests right here in Houston is a police department that brought in other law enforcement agencies and used the practices of qualified immunity or claimed qualified immunity. And not only did they charge people with crimes that they did not commit, they kettled them, and which means they surrounded them and pushed them into a small encircled corner, tear gas, pepper spray, rubber bullets, illegally arresting people after the protest that was with 60,000 people. And so let's talk about this for a second. How, without any weapons or laying a hand on a police officer, in conjunction with destroying property and things like this, the reality is that they don't like that we're taking up space in their centers of commerce. They don't like that we're taking up space and making space for ourselves and recognizing ourselves in our own personal autonomy about the fact that we are 100% human beings. right? They see us
Right.
as less than human. It's evident with the news today that came out about Pearland in Brazoria County and how they had a militarized response for George Floyd's funeral because they felt like there was going to be civil unrest in Pearland. And while I have people that I care about and are very fond of that live in Pearland, what the fuck would I do in Pearland? They don't have shit for me. They don't have street lights. They're nothing but racist. And I would recommend to you that you don't go to Pearland. You drive through there, don't buy gas, don't buy a Snickers bar, don't get a box of chicken from churches, don't buy shit. Pass them up. They are a sundown town. Look at their education system. Look at how Mike Floyd had to resign from Pearland ISD. Look at all of these things. And think about this list of things that people that Greg Abbott and his minions have put together. Like number 3, using lasers to target law enforcement. Most times activists don't have the funds to be buying lasers, let alone permits. We don't have time to think about buying lasers to harass the police when every action in the first 3 on here are usually agitations that are incited by police undercover and in uniform, right? And not to mention Trump's secret police, right?
Hmm.
So the reality is they are trying to start the violence. They see us as violent people. They want to project us as violent people. They want to criminalize our blackness as if they haven't done so already. They are showing us live in real time what institutional and structural and systemic racism looks like.
Right.
It doesn't just mean a protest, because every legislative session we are there. We have been in a room working on bills that got signed into law by that governor.
Absolutely. I also want to add lasers. These are things that are children's toys. So you're going to make an attempt to criminalize the use of lasers. That is ridiculous. I'm going to hit these next 2. A felony. Okay, you got a felony, you ain't voting. A felony for riders blocking hospital entrances and exits. We don't do that. We value life. We are out here in the street fighting because Black Lives Matter. Black Lives Matter too. If I am fighting for my life, why would I devalue the life of someone else? That's not what Black Lives Matter does. That is what Greg Abbott does. That is what Dan Patrick does when he launched an entire campaign against Black trans women. That is what they do. We do not jeopardize life. They jeopardize life. When those people found themselves in front of a hospital entrance because they were mad about wearing masks, and nurses inside of the hospital had to come out in a show of force to protect the patients inside that hospital who were battling coronavirus. Those were not Black lives you saw out there. Those were white people. Those were people that would have, if they could have, voted for Greg Abbott. Those are people that did vote for Donald Trump because they're one and the same. So let it not be lost on you who is really doing the thing that they're accusing us of doing. Number 2, jail time for using fireworks at protests and riots because cops fear for their lives. These men and women who like to call themselves blue when it's convenient for them, and then call themselves black, brown, white, of some descent when they're trying to infiltrate our communities. Those blue lives. If you think that I am supposed to spend my hard-earned tax dollars to pay your salary, to put money into your crooked union, you need to at least be able to tell the difference between a gunshot and fireworks. Once again, these are children's toys. These are things that in Texas, if you're not shooting fireworks on the right day, you're just not Texas. So not only are you telling us that our lives are not valuable, you're telling us that we don't have other things that you guys take for granted. But at the end of the day, if you were so afraid for your life that some fireworks might cause you to shoot your gun, you're in the wrong profession. And when I say wrong profession, I mean abolish the cops. Brother?
Well, Brandon, like, think about this, bro. Candace, sis,
Yeah.
blocking the hospital entrances. Aren't you a nurse
Yeah, a whole nurse.
who
A
has been
whole nurse
working?
that's in these hospitals taking care of people dying from coronavirus.
Brandon, don't you work at a university admitting people to school and talking to Black and brown kids and increasing the attendance rates of Black and brown people and making it easier for them to attend by pushing through programs that reduce funding and cover funding if at all possible?
Every day.
I'm really saying this. Again, we were not born yesterday.
Right.
We're not insolent people. The reality that we're dealing with here is if anytime you see a protest at a hospital entrance, or you're talking about fireworks, those fireworks are the sparks from the flashbangs of the rubber bullets and the tear gas.
Thank you.
Number one.
And
And number two, if you see us at the entrance of a hospital, it's because, like the people who we were doing bail response for, coming out with broken ribs, broken fingers, scuff marks, barefooted, in the middle of a pandemic, not giving PPE. Are you talking about that, Governor Abbott? Because maybe you need to roll your ass back into your office, hit up the Google account because your staff is too incompetent to do their job, and do some real empirical research, sir, because you are barking up the wrong tree, especially
You're
with
using words, brother, you're using words he does not understand. In order for him
you
to
can get
do
a Negro translate.
empirical research, he would have to understand empirical. He would have to believe in a scientific approach. These guys obviously don't do that because they roll on their own identity and their own emotions. And then they tell us that how we have the audacity to believe that this state should work for us and the things that directly affect us should be mitigated and ended.
But what
These
thing
last two,
clearly
brother,
understand?
I'm sorry.
Oh no, the thing that they clearly understand is how to devalue Black lives with using their bully pulpits in order to do so. And that's exactly what all this is that they
Exactly.
are trying to undercut what we are trying to do because we are effective.
Right.
Bottom line is
And you
that
know what?
Bottom line.
And you know what?
I'm
The
sorry, go ahead.
reality of all of this is we are the people you're watching right now who have fought for healthcare for all Texans, who have fought for education to be free and continue to be free. Or did you forget it was us that was fighting to keep those schools open with HISD, where Candace was dragged out and arrested and held
Listen,
in a room in the back of the HISD, had it made white headquarters.
right.
Where
So,
when we were protesting for Sandra Bland and her murder at Waller County Jail, when they brought an entire SWAT team from 3 different counties, plus their own, and stood behind that building while Brandon was pulled in with 4 other people, all because we were demanding justice for the people of Prairie View and Sandra Bland and her family, right?
exactly.
So the reality is that we fight for change that increases life chances for Black lives. We
Right.
fight for quality of life. If anything, we give life. So the reality is
We
that
damn
this
sure protect it.
racist and his administration and his other elected colleagues are barking up the wrong tree. They are
Absolutely.
fighting for their last gasp of power. I'm not talking about the 2020 election. They're fighting for the fact that we no longer wish or seek for their permission to recognize our existence.
Come
Black
on.
Lives Matter Houston is premised on teaching Black people that Black Lives Matter and that there are other resources, including but not limited to when people have fuck you money to do the things that we need to do for ourselves, to be
Right.
self-sufficient without being interrupted or regulated or laws being written and policy being driven to prevent us from actually thriving and surviving and living instead of just surviving to get to the next day and figuring out whether we're going to pay the light bill, the bus fare, or spend money on the dollar menu for our child. there's a reality that we face here, right? We are in the middle of a pandemic. We have a mayor who signed a cite and release ordinance that's weaker than what existed for 3 years in Harris County that leaves it up to police discretion. It's the police policing the police. All of these things from a man who was in the legislature under Greg Abbott for some of that time, who signed those into law, but Turner voted for those things, right? And he is trying to defend his legacy, much like these racists are. The point is that we have to look in our community for the people who are pushing along policies, as well as for people like Greg Abbott, who are pushing policies that are detrimental to our lives being lived into full joy and existence. It's like it's illegal to have Black joy. It shouldn't be this hard.
Right. So my brother brought up fuck you money. I love that phrase. Love that phrase. Black folks deserve fuck you money. So these last 2 points I'm going to put together, and then we're going to really break this down. I need you to stay with us. Like if you need to hit pause, go get you something to drink, come back, sit down, and bring your friends. Stay with us. Number 1, a felony for aiding riots with money or organizational assistance. This will no longer be legal. This will be a felony charge. Power for Texas Attorney General Ken Paxton to pursue civil penalties against people and organizations that assist in riots. Now, when I say stay with us, this is when I mean stay with us. First of all, who defines a riot? I mean, we got to get real fundamental here because we're talking about laws. And when we talk about laws, these are supposed to be objective rules for governing society, not what you think, not how you feel. So who the hell is determining what a riot is and what a riot is not? Ask yourselves that, because I promise you, Black people, whatever their interpretation is, it is untoward of our Black lives. You could set your clock on it because that's their history. Second, how dare you tell me what I can spend my hard-earned money on and then turn around and weaponize my hard-earned money against me? You already got me paying for cops that are killing me. And you have the audacity to question why I would want to abolish the police. You're already taking that money out of my check. You already got this Black woman right here paying for schools that do not care about Black children and accelerate the school to prison pipeline so you can further commodify Black bodies. That's my hard-earned tax dollars. So now, oh wait, let me hit one more for Houston. You have the audacity to take my money, my hard-earned money, put it into what you call a rainy day fund, let it accumulate billions, and then watch my city drown. That's what you've already done with my money, but now you're gonna tell me that I cannot donate my money to the protection of Black lives, to give resources and help to Black people that know that this country is working as it is intended to, and that is against us. You're gonna tell me that I can't spend my money for those Black kids so they can exercise their First Amendment rights? I think the fuck not. Okay, let's get real serious about this. Right now, sitting in this city, we have a 19-year-old boy that is facing 20 years because he supposedly threw a water bottle at a cop in the middle of a protest. These cops are so fragile that they will take 20 years from a 19-year-old. Abolish the fucking police. Now on to that second one. If this doesn't smell like what they did to the Black Panthers, I don't know what does. So you're going to sue me for defending Black lives. You're going to sue this organization where a lot of times we have taken money out of our own pockets to feed, clothe, provide water, PPE that this government will not provide. This is the moves that we make in Black Lives Matter Houston. And yes, we're going to bail Black lives out of jail. And unlike Greg Abbott, we know that every Black life that is sitting in jail right now, very likely, I'm giving it 85, okay, call a thing, 95% sure that the Black first-time offenders sitting in Harris County Jail in the city of Houston, if they were white, they at the worst be on probation. But we got people sitting in our county jails right now for months because they can't pay traffic tickets. You tell me, why wouldn't I organize around those Black lives? And then when they get out, why wouldn't they take to the streets? They feel this injustice like other people can only imagine. So, Greg Abbott, hold on, Ken Paxton. Mr. I don't have a felony because I'm white and I'm Ken Paxton. Ken Paxton is going to judge my actions. The caucasity.
Actually, he was found guilty. He's a criminal. He's actually not supposed to be in the street.
Shit, you're right. You're right. You're
He's
right.
a felon.
So that criminal gets to tell me what is a protest and what is a riot. And that criminal gets to use his discretion as to whether he will sue me for civil penalties. Get the fuck out of here.
And it's not just us, it's organizations like FIEL, like, United We Dream, like TOP, the ACLU of Texas. Like, people don't realize that this is a direct attack on all of us, not just Houston. The reality is that when we do our events, we coordinate our events. We have legal observers, we have street medics, we have organizations that bring food to feed people, water. So you mean to tell me in the Texas heat in the middle of June, I wasn't supposed to organize thousands of bottles of water for people standing in the middle of the heat?
Listen.
So you telling me that I wasn't supposed to do my due diligence as an activist who cares about his community and its supporters to make sure that they had temperatures that weren't too elevated, masks, gloves, hand sanitizer?
Right. We are such terrorists that, I don't know, we require people that come out to the rallies and protests and events that we do, we make it a mandate that they wear masks. And if they don't have masks when they show up,
we give you one.
We give them one for the event and we give them some to take home.
Yeah. And
right.
The reality here that is overarching right now is that they want us to shut up.
Yeah.
Don't stop. You don't have to be a part of an organization. You don't have to be part of BLMHOU. You know what your fight and your struggle is.
Right.
Not let these people silence you with fear.
No.
Right? We're talking about our voting rights, right? And so I saw somebody on Twitter, like, I've been thinking this. Today Greg Abbott reduced the amount of drop-off centers that you could have for absentee ballot in the middle of a pandemic to one, which would be NRG, right? Why would you force someone who lives in Acres Homes, 5th Ward, 3rd Ward, Sunnyside, all of that, even if you're over by 290, regardless of where you are, not just for the city of Houston, but all of Harris County. This is a statewide proclamation. And the reality is you are suppressing voting rights while not providing rental assistance and stopping evictions and foreclosures. Because one minute you're saying that you don't want people to have multiple voting centers, and in the other breath you're saying you want people to be homeless. But we live in a city where it's illegal to feed homeless people.
Right.
In a city where it's illegal to give homeless people money. We live in a city where it's illegal to have homeless encampments with the specter of 200 plus evictions a day on the docket right here in Harris County, mostly concentrated in Houston residences, y'all.
Right here.
Please
And you know
understand,
what?
while asking and while we're demanding the right to protect the vote, right? However, people want to show up in that way. How can someone vote if they don't have a damn address? How
Thank
can
you.
someone have an absentee ballot if they don't have an address to
Right.
receive that or to mail it from or to give to? Because for every service, just like with homeless people, you will not get services if you don't have an address. So when we
Right.
talk about abolishing and defunding, taking that money from the police, not the giving more money to police with that sham 102 recommendations that the mayor's 45-person commission put out. This, they don't address quality of life. What about the people who we're talking about citing and releasing who don't have cell phones that have unlimited data, minutes, and phone calls, where they
Right.
have to constantly monitor how many texts they send and how long they stay on the phone, let alone even have access to show up to court digitally,
Right.
thereby enhancing their chances of being arrested later and being charged more money that they already don't have.
Right. And then with cite and release, we cannot forget the fact that this is up to the police officer's discretion. So once again, it is putting us back in a position where we are on the street being judged by an organization that has proven they do not care about Black lives. What do you have to lose? What do you have to lose? This is why Greg Abbott wants to make law this type of knee on our neck, if I should be so bold. What do you have to lose? This is the stuff you're going to hear from Black Lives Matter Houston all the damn time. You tell me what you got to lose.
And remember, the knee was already on our neck. The knee was already on our neck.
It's already there.
They're adding more weight to it. And then
right.
Our elected officials in the Democratic Party, some of which we unfortunately have to vote for as the lesser evil alternative, are standing there like that officer in the George Floyd video with their hands in the pocket, chewing their gum and looking the fucking way. It is time to hold them all accountable. Right?
Every one of them.
Right. And so with that, I don't know about y'all, but I got to get up early in the morning. So yeah, that's my NOLA coming out. But I got to get up early in the morning to do some more work related to our community. And we will be back. We have more to say. But know that you need to walk around with your head on a swivel. You need to keep your eyes open. And if you are one of those people who like the cosplay raccoons, it's time for you to take the rose-colored glasses off. Ditch the respectability politics and come into reality that we are in danger. We are under threat and our lives deserve better.
Right. And I want to close with saying something that I say quite often, and I'm going to keep repeating it. We must protect our children. Our children are our future. And we as adults are expected to navigate a racist existence, and we find ourselves on the losing end of those navigations quite often. Our children are expected to navigate those same racist systems. So at this point, when I ask you, what do we have to lose? We have one thing for sure, and that's our babies. So when Donald Trump said, stand back and stand by, you ain't seen what Black women look like when we stand by. So my sisters, I love you. My trans sisters, I love you. I will always uplift you. This is for you too. You are, all Black lives matter. And we're gonna protect you by any means fucking necessary. And we ain't fucking scared. Black lives matter.